Remember thinking it's science fiction, it doesn't matter what I do. I wore these very high hooker boots.
For decades, Alien has been one of sci-fi's most legendary franchises. But what if we told you the story behind it was even more shocking than the films themselves? At 75, Sigourney Weaver is finally breaking her silence on the battle she fought, both on and off screen. From the role that almost went to someone else, to the brutal behind-the-scenes clashes with Hollywood executives, her journey as Ellen Ripley was anything but easy. What disturbing discovery made her nearly quit? And why did she turn down millions to walk away? This is not just another Hollywood success story. It's a tale of power, resistance, and the truth that almost stayed buried. The real story behind Alien is stranger than fiction, and for the first time, Weaver is ready to reveal it all. The battle for Ripley. In 1979, Sigourney Weaver's portrayal of Ellen Ripley in Alien revolutionized science fiction, breaking barriers for female action heroes in Hollywood. Initially, the film's script did not specify Ripley's gender, and early drafts referred to the character with male pronouns. The studio was hesitant about casting a woman in the lead, believing audiences wouldn't accept a female action star. Fox executives even pushed for Meryl Streep or Glenn Close, but director Ridley Scott and producer Alan Ladd Jr. saw something special in Weaver. At 29, she was an unknown actress with a background in experimental theater, but her audition stunned the filmmakers, and she landed the role that would change her life and movie history. Despite her groundbreaking performance, Weaver faced an uphill battle for respect in Hollywood. The studio drastically underpaid her, giving her only $35,000 for Alien, while co-star John Hurt made $250,000. Fox executives remained skeptical about her ability to carry a franchise, but when Alien became a massive hit, they had no choice but to acknowledge her star power. By the time Aliens 1986 came around, Weaver had proven herself, and her portrayal of Ripley as both a fierce warrior and a protective mother figure earned her an Oscar nomination, an unheard of honor for a sci-fi film at the time. The nomination signaled a shift in how Hollywood viewed both the genre and female leads in action roles. During the Alien sequels, some form of evil emanated from this cinematic progeny. Heavy production chaos surrounded Alien 3, with script rewrites during filming and director David Fincher, who had a tough time fighting for creative control over his movie against the studio's interference. Weaver, now a producer with input on the script, insisted that Ripley ought to have a story with some meaning beyond that of a sequel begging to be made for money. She opposed various decisions by the studio, including the death of fan-favorite characters from Aliens. The stress of making the movie left her an emotional wreck, and later on, she stated that the treatment of women in Hollywood, backed by being called hysterical for expressing her concerns over the creativity of the film, almost made her quit acting outright. Another condition for her participation in the making of Alien Resurrection 1997 was that she wanted Ripley to transform. Embracing its weirdness, she went on to portray the cloned Ripley 8, some human and some xenomorph. Mixed reviews came her way for her performance, but she showed she could take risks and go with the flow. However, she refused to lend her illustrious presence to Alien vs. Predator 2004 because she called it a cash grab that disrespected Ripley's legacy. Over the years, Weaver took a very protective attitude toward Ripley, refusing to let her be just another action hero. She opened the door to the way for other female characters in sci-fi, from The Hunger Games to Gravity. Weaver's legacy is right that she is one of the most influential names in the realm, but before she became the fearless warrior who redefined sci-fi, Sigourney Weaver had to reinvent herself, starting with a name that would change everything. From Susan to Sigourney. Sigourney Weaver's journey to becoming a Hollywood icon began with a name change. Born Susan Alexandra Weaver, she never felt like the name suited her, especially given her tall stature. By the time she was in 6th grade, she had already grown to 5 feet 11 inches, and classmates mocked her for her height, calling her the giant spider. At 14, she found the name Sigourney in The Great Gatsby and decided it fit her better. Changing her name wasn't just about standing out, it gave her a sense of control over her identity, making her feel stronger and more confident confident. Ironically, some casting directors assumed Sigourney was a man's name, which helped her get noticed in an industry that often overlooked women. Despite her famous family, her father, Pat Weaver, created The Today Show, and her mother, Elizabeth Inglis, was an actress. Sigourney didn't initially pursue acting. Instead, she studied English literature at Stanford University, living an unconventional life that included residing in a treehouse, playing the flute, and dressing in elf costumes for fun. She performed in some school plays, including A Streetcar Named Desire, but didn't take acting seriously until after she traveled to Israel and realized how much she missed storytelling. This revelation led her to apply to the Yale School of Drama, but once there, she struggled. Her classmates included Meryl Streep, who was constantly given leading roles, while Weaver was often cast as an old woman, an insulting choice for someone in her early 20s. Yale was quite discouraging for her. Some professors even told her that she had no talent and should leave. Rather than giving up, Weaver became determined to prove them wrong. She found an ally in fellow student Christopher Durang, who, like her, didn't fit the school's rigid mold. The two began collaborating on bizarre, experimental plays that defied expectations. In one production, Titanic, 1976, she played a woman who kept live animals inside her body. Another, Das Lusitania Songspiel, was an outrageous satire in which she played a champagne-smashing, indecent worker. Her performances led her to develop a very idiosyncratic, audacious style, which put her on a different actor path. These were the unconventional theater experiences that brought her to the eyes of grand names like Warren Beatty and Mike Nichols, and landed her a big ticket to Broadway and cinema roles. Weaver's first film performance was practically funny 6 Quiet Seconds in Annie Hall, 1977, standing next to Woody Allen in a trench coat. Later, she joked that she made $50 and spent it on a sandwich. That tiny job turned out to be quite significant, however. Casting director Juliet Taylor remembered her and later suggested her for Alien, because no one expected the woman from Annie Hall to be an action hero. Her performance as Ripley was even more shocking and impactful. Hollywood versus Weaver. Sigourney Weaver's battle with Hollywood began the moment she stepped into the Alien franchise. When she was cast as Ellen Ripley, 20th Century Fox executives were skeptical about a female-led sci-fi film. They initially wanted Meryl Streep or Glenn Close for the role, and even after Weaver was cast, they tried to downplay her importance. She was underpaid for Alien, 1979, while co-star John Hurt received a huge payment than her. Despite this, her performance proved groundbreaking, and audiences connected with her portrayal of a smart, capable, and fearless survivor. However, even after Alien became a massive hit, Hollywood still refused to see her as an equal to her male co-stars. By the time Aliens came around, Weaver had gained more power, but she still faced resistance. James Cameron, the film's director, wanted to expand Ripley's character into a full-fledged action hero with emotional depth, but studio executives were hesitant about making her the focus. It wasn't until Cameron threatened to walk away that Fox agreed to Weaver's return, this time offering her a significant pay raise of $1 million. Her performance as a tough yet compassionate leader earned her an Oscar nomination, something unheard of for an action or sci-fi film. However, despite this success, she continued to fight against Hollywood's bias. The industry still saw action films as a man's domain, and Weaver had to repeatedly prove that Ripley wasn't just an anomaly. She was a new kind of hero. Getting intersected by Alien 3 turned into a nightmare for production. The script set all production designs to be constructed of a wooden monastery, with monks believing Ripley to be a part of a divine test, which was canceled just 3 weeks before pre-production. The studio panicked, yielding too quickly to a new Prison Planet version, one that lent itself to continuous rewrites. Weaver, having won enough power at this point to approve any script, was said to be greatly frustrated by the whole process. If Fox was going to slay Newt and Hicks, Ripley had to mean something instead of being only there as a setup for sequels, she said. Another battle emerged concerning her hair, as they wanted her to wear a wig, fearing audiences would not find a bald woman attractive enough. Weaver rejected this, and thus stood for her character's survival, certainly placing it above Hollywood beauty standards. Weaver's every film as Ripley, Alien Resurrection, was another battleground, but she entered the fray willingly this time. She acted the cloned Ripley with xenomorph DNA, making her stronger, faster, and deadlier. deadlier. The movie received mixed reviews while Weaver was creatively challenged to perform a Ripley who was human and monstrous. However, she staunchly refused to take Fox's call for Alien versus Predator. She said the idea was ridiculous and demeaned Ripley's legacy. After everything she had fought for, Weaver felt that the character did not deserve to be turned into a mindless action figure. Her struggle against Hollywood was not about money or roles, but to defend Ripley's legacy and to prove that women could front major sci-fi franchises without being marginalized or exploited. How Alien almost had a different lead. The role of Ellen Ripley in Alien almost went to someone else, and if Hollywood executives had their way, it wouldn't have been Sigourney Weaver. When the original script was written in 1976, the characters' genders weren't specified, and early drafts used male pronouns for Ripley. At the time, studio executives at 20th Century Fox assumed the lead would be a man, since action and horror films rarely featured female protagonists. However, director Ridley Scott and producer Alan Ladd Jr. saw an opportunity to do something different. They made the bold decision to cast a woman as the lead, breaking one of Hollywood's biggest unspoken rules. Even after deciding to cast a female Ripley, the studio still wasn't convinced about Weaver. Fox executives pushed for Meryl Streep or Glenn Close, believing they were safer choices. Weaver, on the other hand, was relatively unknown, with just a few off-Broadway roles and a 6-second appearance in Annie Hall, 1977. But when she auditioned, everything changed. Her commanding presence and natural confidence impressed Scott, who immediately saw her potential. She wasn't just playing tough, she was tough, and she brought a sense of intelligence and survival instinct that made Ripley feel real. Despite the studio's doubts, Scott fought to cast Weaver, believing she could carry the film in a way no one else could. Even with that position gained by Weaver, problems pursued her. The executives at Fox did not believe the audience would accept a female hero and insisted on keeping Ripley's role small. All skepticism was reflected in her salary, which was a mere $35,000 for the role, unlike her male co-stars, who earned tremendously larger amounts. There was also sensitivity about how the audiences would receive a woman who took charge, and thus was the film structured to make Ripley's leadership settle naturally. The biggest surprise was that the male captain played by Tom Skerritt was slain. When opening up, Ripley had to step forward unexpectedly as a hero. This reversal of tradition was exceptional at the time and was instrumental in forging a new form of science fiction. In the end, Weaver's Ripley was simply not good. It was legendary. The audience knew her character from her perseverance and intelligence. Alien became a massive hit, indicating that a female-led action horror film could indeed work and thrive. Weaver's performance would create Ripley, one of the most iconic characters in cinema history. What was once a role evaded by Hollywood executives became one of the defining moments in celluloid history and paved the way for future action heroines on camera. Without Scott's insistence and Weaver's groundbreaking and undeniable talent, Alien was just another monster movie. Rather, it became a game changer, and Weaver became a star. Weaver's fight for recognition. Sigourney Weaver's portrayal of Ellen Ripley in Aliens was nothing short of groundbreaking, yet Hollywood wasn't ready to fully recognize her achievement. At the time, the Academy Awards largely ignored science fiction and action films, favoring traditional dramas over performances that required both emotional depth and physical intensity. But Weaver's Ripley was unlike anything seen before. She was both a fierce warrior and a deeply human protector, balancing raw emotion with relentless determination. Her performance was so powerful that it earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress, a historic moment for sci-fi. However, despite her trailblazing achievement, the Oscar ultimately went to Marlee Matlin for Children of a Lesser God, 1986, reinforcing the Academy's long-standing bias against genre films. Despite never winning the Academy Award, Weaver continued to display her versatility and talent. At the Golden Globes of 1988, she created history by winning 2 acting awards in the same evening: Best Actress for Gorillas in the Mist and Best Supporting Actress for Working Girl. At that instant, no actor had achieved such a rare feat, and no one has done it since. Weaver's intense preparation for the role of Dian Fossey, the conservationist in the real world in Gorillas in the Mist, involved living with the gorillas, while her performance as the ruthless corporate executive Catherine Parker in Working Girl proved 2 things: her sharp sense of humor and impeccable comic timing. timing. The buzz around the win was that it would finally translate into an Oscar, and even though Weaver received another nomination for Gorillas in the Mist, she lost yet again. By now, it was clear that no matter how undeniable her talent, the Academy was still averse to recognizing her work in sci-fi and non-conventional roles. Later on, Weaver's snubs became part of a bigger conversation about Hollywood's inability to put its weight behind genre films. When Sandra Bullock won for Gravity, 2013, many had seen it as the overdue recognition of Weaver's contributions, as Ripley was the one who opened doors for complex female protagonists in sci-fi. Weaver's legacy remains unrivaled even in the absence of an Oscar. Her Aliens nomination went a long way in changing the very perception of what genres deserved consideration, and her fearless storytelling has emboldened generations of actresses, whether going nose to nose with xenomorphs or heavy dramatic roles, or putting her stamp on Hollywood's perspective of female action heroes. Sigourney Weaver has left her indelible mark on the industry, winner or not. Her battle for recognition was just one of many struggles, but behind the scenes, Alien itself nearly became something entirely different. The lost Alien films. The Alien franchise could have taken a drastically different path if some of its early ideas had been brought to life. After Aliens became a massive hit, 20th Century Fox was eager to continue the story, but the development of Alien 3, 1992, quickly turned into chaos. One of the most intriguing early concepts came from writer Vincent Ward, who envisioned Ripley landing on a wooden monastery planet inhabited by monks who believed the xenomorph was a divine punishment. The film would have explored eerie religious themes and had a unique gothic aesthetic, featuring candle-lit wooden corridors and a slow-burning sense of dread. Fox initially approved this version, but just 3 weeks before filming, the studio scrapped it entirely, sending the production into turmoil. The series of dashes of stripped-down scripts took place as the studio rushed to a new location for the monastery setting. The most imaginative scripts reworked the Alien 3 concept in many ways. A version by cyberpunk author William Gibson focused on the militarized experimentation of the xenomorph, as it leans heavily on old-style bioweapons during the Cold War. Near Dark's Eric Red wrote another one that emphasized horror, with grotesque mutations and body horror. However, all of them are ultimately unproduced versions. Instead, Fox stitched together scraps of pieces from Walter Hill's Prison Planet Draft, but completely neglected the depth of religious and psychological that was present in Ward's script. In the end, this last-minute restructuring cost the studio millions, left the director David Fincher with a constantly rewritten, incomplete script, and furious at the studio, later renounced the film by Fincher, calling it one of his worst experiences in his career. These were some of the troubles that beset the film Alien 3. They were only still starting even with Alien Resurrection, because they would choose wackier ground, resurrecting Ripley as an amalgam clone of an xenomorph and human DNA. Weaver welcomed that aspect of weirdly angled role-playing, but soon made it crystal clear that she wouldn't even touch an Alien vs. Predator 2004 film that cheapened her character. She fought too hard against letting Ripley become just another action figure in a franchise, and she wasn't interested in Avaricious creating a crossover spectacle designed for pure spectacle. In the years of Alien, several sequels and reboots have been mentioned, such as Neil Blomkamp's Alien 5, which would not have made any reference to Alien 3 and Resurrection, but Fox never got through with it, and it has left the fans to wonder about what might have happened had the studio taken more creative risks than endless rewriting and compromise with scripts. Weaver's unforgettable career choices. After Alien made her a star, Sigourney Weaver refused to be boxed into a single type of role. Hollywood saw her as the perfect action heroine and kept offering her similar tough guy roles, but she deliberately chose to break expectations. She turned down Total Recall and The Silence of the Lambs, both of which became massive hits because she didn't want to be typecast as a hardened action star. Instead, she sought out roles that challenged her in new ways, such as The Ice Storm, 1997, where she played a quiet, emotional emotionally distant housewife, and Death and the Maiden, 1994, where she portrayed a woman confronting her former torturer in a deeply psychological drama. These films showcased her range and proved that she could deliver gripping performances far beyond the sci-fi genre. The year 1988 saw Weaver making history by winning 2 Golden Globes on the same night: Best Actress for Gorillas in the Mist and Best Supporting Actress for Working Girl. The distinctive nature of this accomplishment showed her uncanny versatility. One role required deep emotional transformation, while the other had the actor making way for sharp comedic timing. Weaver's work in Gorillas in the Mist amounted to far more than just acting. She spent months studying the research of Dian Fossey and lived among gorillas to understand their behavior better. This motion picture brought honors, fame, and her lifetime commitment to gorilla conservation. On the opposite end of the spectrum was Working Girl, which exhibited her talents in a completely different light. Her portrayal of manipulative, ambitious Catherine Parker was one of the highlights of her career, proving that she could steal scenes in a supporting role. Weaver's flair for deadpan comedy has extended to her frequent self-mockery regarding her sci-fi legacy. In Galaxy Quest, 1999, she plays Gwen DeMarco, a has-been actress who only had one role on a fictional space show to repeat the computer's dialogue. The film hilariously skewers the tradition of using women in sci-fi merely as a set decoration appearance. Weaver completely embraced the outlandish humor of the piece. For decades, her ability to drench each character in such polarized genres, mixing drama, action, and comedy, has revitalized her career. Even when working off the mainstream trackers by portraying a teenage Na'vi girl in Avatar: The Way of Water, 2022. Still, she proves to be the most effrontery and adaptable actress of her generation. Star in a sci-fi blockbuster, or offer a subtle dramatic turn. She is Hollywood's most magnetic and unpredictable star. From treehouses to basketball tricks, Sigourney Weaver has always had a knack for the unexpected, both in her personal life and on set. Before becoming a Hollywood icon, she lived an unconventional college life at Stanford University, where she chose to reside in a treehouse instead of a traditional dorm. Embracing a free-spirited lifestyle, she played the flute, dressed in elf costumes for fun, and initially saw acting as a side interest rather than a career path. It wasn't until she traveled to Israel to work on a farm that she realized how much she missed storytelling, leading her to apply to the Yale School of Drama. Even there, she refused to conform. While her classmates performed serious monologues for their final showcase, she boldly chose a comedic piece about a woman seducing a refrigerator. Though her professors failed her for it, this rebellious streak helped her land her first off-Broadway role and set the stage for a career built on taking risks. It is said that one of Weaver's most famous impressive performances happened while filming Alien Resurrection. During the filming of one scene, Ripley had to throw a basketball over her shoulder without looking and hit the shot. The director expected to rely on CGI to accomplish this, but not Weaver. She spent weeks training with an NBA coach, determined to accomplish the shot by herself. On the day of the shooting, the cast and crew expected it to take several attempts, but everyone was shocked that she did it on her first try. Co-star Ron Perlman exclaimed that he broke character and cursed at the unbelievable event, ruining the take. It is now one of the great film legends, among the greatest accidental shooting on-screen moments that prove that Weaver dedicated and natural athletic skills beyond just acting. Weaver continued to test new waters even at 60 years old, hyper-like Avatar: The Way of Water, 2022, where the actress donned the role of a 14-year-old Na'vi girl, Kiri. Nor did she plan to get digital effects to make the performance believable. She worked with movement coaches to put back into place the physicality of adolescence. She read her own teenage diaries to retrieve emotions from that time. That is what Sigourney Weaver does. Put her all into representing a role, whether through physical training, method acting, or even unexpected talents, such as shooting basketballs. Whether she's living in a treehouse, acting in bizarre theatrical productions, or landing impossible trick shots, Sigourney Weaver has always embraced the unexpected, and that's part of what makes her unforgettable. A Life of Activism. Sigourney Weaver has used her platform for activism just as fearlessly as she has taken on roles in Hollywood. One of her longest-running causes is gorilla conservation, a passion that began when she portrayed primatologist Dian Fossey in Gorillas in the Mist, 1988. Rather than leaving the role behind after filming, Weaver became deeply involved in the cause, working with the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund to protect mountain gorillas from poaching and habitat destruction. She has spent over 30 years advocating for wildlife conservation, earning numerous awards for her efforts. Her dedication proves that her activism is not just a celebrity trend, it's a lifelong mission that extends far beyond the screen. Beyond environmental work, Weaver has been a strong advocate for women's rights and social justice. In Call Jane, 2022, she played a woman involved in an underground abortion network, highlighting the importance of reproductive rights. She has publicly voiced her support for abortion access, especially in light of modern legal challenges. Weaver has also spoken out about gender inequality in Hollywood, acknowledging that while she eventually earned high salaries, particularly for Avatar, many actresses, especially women of color, still face massive pay disparities. She has supported LGBTQ+ rights as well, backing films like Prayers for Bobby, which focused on a mother coming to terms with her gay son taking his own life. Weaver's activism extends to climate change and environmental protection, issues she has passionately fought for over the years. She has worked with organizations like the United Nations and the Natural Resources Defense Council to address deforestation, ocean pollution, and global warming. During the COVID-19 pandemic, she even turned her New York apartment into a meeting space for climate activists, including Greta Thunberg. In 2025, while performing in The Tempest on Broadway, climate protesters interrupted the show, and instead of condemning them, Weaver supported their cause, stating that their message fit the play's themes. Whether fighting for the planet, standing up for women's rights, or amplifying marginalized voices, Weaver has proven that her influence extends far beyond Hollywood. She is a true force for change. Beyond her fight for justice and the environment, there's one thing in Weaver's life that has stood the test of time, a rare Hollywood love story that defied the odds. The Marriage That Lasted. Sigourney Weaver and Jim Simpson's love story is a rare success in Hollywood, where long-lasting marriages are few and far between. The two first met in 1983 at a theater festival, where Simpson, a playwright and director, was working as a bartender. Weaver, already a rising star, was dating someone else at the time, but there was an undeniable spark between them. A few months later, she invited Simpson to a party, and after the guests had left, he stayed behind to help her clean up. That simple act of kindness led to their first date, and within just 3 months, they were married on October 1st, 1984. While many celebrity marriages are built on spectacle, theirs was grounded in something much more meaningful: genuine connection and mutual respect. The two do not seem to marry in the glitzy and glamorous manner adopted by many Hollywood couples. They simply secluded themselves in New York, where Simpson could forge a long and illustrious career in the theater, while Weaver got to mix her big blockbuster films with a quiet home life. Although her life was fiery with fame, for the couple, the patterns were quite banal, where both would shore each other on artistic pursuits. They have laid such firm foundations that they soldiered through quite several challenges. Furthermore, this will augment their already huge basket of strengths to sustain them in togetherness. All through these years, he would stand beside her in all major premiere events, while she would support him in whatever major capacity he performed in the theater scene. One daughter, Charlotte Simpson, was produced in 1990 from this union, whose career does not lie within Hollywood. Now a professor at Columbia University specializing in AI and digital storytelling, Charlotte set out very early on with a long-distance view of separating herself from the industry. Weaver has boldly stated that part of her struggle, especially with her extreme film career, has been to be a mom at the same time. With Charlotte heading to university, this was particularly difficult with the shoots for Avatar. Surviving as a star only so much in Hollywood, Weaver always gave priority to her family over her fame. Their marriage continues to be among the longest-standing love stories within the industry, and that's the incredible story of Sigourney Weaver and the truth behind Alien. What do you think about her journey? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads. And if you want more amazing Hollywood stories, check out the next video on the screen. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.